What do I think about William Cooper and the information that he put out in his radio show, The Hour of the Time? What do I think about his Alex Jones Y2K broadcast expose? What do I think about the death of William Cooper? So I'll address those things. I tend to look at things from like both sides. I might have a love-hate relationship with something or someone, for example. So with William Cooper, I could see how he has talked about things like the New World Order race war agenda in a day and age where others were as well. But you can listen to early Hour of the Time broadcasts, and he was spot on. And you look at what is taking place today, and there are so many, including many that have probably been fans of William Cooper's work in the past, but they're caught up in all the race war hysteria of today's day and age, and they don't see how the New World Order is behind this. They keep thinking that it's with the Muslims. Yes, the New World Order is pro-Muslim. That's why they're bombing them back to the Stone Age. People have lost it. They've lost it. They're running around telling other people they lost in the election when they didn't even have a dog in this fight. Many people didn't even have a dog in this fight. I didn't have a dog in this fight. You have people walking around going, "You lost. You lost." So I've often asked myself, what would William Cooper be thinking today if he was alive with regards to all these people that obviously didn't get the memo or the warning back in the early 90s when they can see, the obvious rise of all this and during the LA riots and, as they were talking about the National Guard pouring into Los Angeles and, other people were talking about the police standing down so they can have a crisis. At the same time, William Cooper did let some of this information and his theories and his anger towards others kind of destroy him from within, and I vowed to never go out like William Cooper. And then to go on radio shows predicting your own death by a few years, if this has to end with a shootout, as he told Alex Jones, if this revolution, paraphrasing, has to start at my doorstep, well, so be it. Well, it just so happened that he did die in a shootout. And while certain people may think that it was a government conspiracy to take him out at the higher levels, black ops or something to that effect, this was more or less a local dispute, or the local sheriff, local law enforcement, and others. And there's some sort of report of a conflict with William Cooper. They're also threatening phone calls that are on YouTube that you can hear that William Cooper made to past associates of his, where William Cooper can be heard making death threats, to be frank. Clearly under the influence of drugs or alcohol, but more than likely alcohol. You listen to some of the podcasts towards the end of his career, you can tell he's just not the same man as he was during the earlier shows. This is not to knock him. This is also not to also say that all of his information has been proven to be legit. Many predictions for economic collapse to occur around 2000. Heavy sponsorship endorsement or heavy endorsement of a sponsor for gold and silver. Nothing wrong with that. Telling people that if they don't do it soon, that they will lose everything. However, is also playing a role in the disinformation. Meaning William Cooper was never an angel with regards to that. Nothing wrong with having sponsors. Nothing wrong with saying go out and buy gold and silver. Literally saying you don't have very much time left. Literally saying it's going to happen by a certain period of time. And telling people there's going to be consequences for them if they don't act by that point in time. Have there been several people that we can look at that have lived past their own predictions of doom and gloom, that have either taken their own lives or have suicided by cop or have gone out in a blaze of glory? We have Michael Rupert, who killed himself in 2000. It's interesting because he and I both found ourselves off the grid in Colorado. Same time period, within a few hundred miles of each other. And my dealings with Michael Rupert are less than positive. I've seen a very psychotic nature of Michael Rupert. There's been some really nasty accusations via email. He's no longer with us, but I believe it was in 2015 that we both also returned to the Pacific Northwest with hardships, with, I believe, a vehicle that we were living in. Very ironic, very similar in the timeline. Also going through my own sadness as well, but also far from suicide. But obviously struggling. Michael Rupert took his own life near Seattle, Washington. He also premeditatively talked about suicide as a way out from a spiritual perspective, from his perspective, as he saw it. Discussing what he interpreted to be Native American beliefs regarding suicide and passing on during the perfect moment in one's life to ascend through this dimension, the spirit to cross over fully. Maybe there is some truth in that. I just don't know. What I can say is my interpretation of Michael Rupert's suicide was a man who saw his predictions of peak oil being the source of all the world's problems. You know, for him, living years beyond his peak oil D-Day. A good writer, at one point a pioneer in the 9/11 truth movement. However, through his own delusion, ego, he got diverted into the peak oil being the source of all the issues. His understanding of, his research. And the end, really, and then there was some behind the scenes stuff. I've alluded to that, and there's other things that I'm, to respect the man that's passed, I'm not going to rehash things that you can learn about on your own on the internet. Some of these people are absolutely psychotic that are in the alternative media. They're absolutely psychotic. They become hungry for power, the idea of being on top or being the go-to guy. William Cooper came up, though, during that era swinging. And some people like that. They like the tough guy, the egomaniac, the guy that knows it all. The asshole father. Sit down, shut up. Let me read you a book. William Cooper probably gave people more of a sense of discipline. Now you listen up here, and you better get this straight. You better get that wax out of your, it's just like, whoa, dude. I ain't ever going to turn out like that. I don't know, maybe I should. What do you guys think? Think I should yell? You're like, you better get your freaking, yeah. William Cooper, folks. Listening to me on your phones somewhere out there, enjoying the Alex Ansary podcast. Check out a little bit of William Cooper. I've thought about uploading, though, because it's really prophetic. He's sitting there talking with Anthony Hilder and a few others, and a lot of these guys, Maxwell included, they all support Trump. They don't see the racial divide game through this election and the games that are being played. They're picking sides. They're playing in the two-party. They're playing in the left-right paradigm. But here's Anthony Hilder back in the day on the hour of the time. And they're talking about the race war agenda on a deep, profound level. Real Nazism in American politics. It's just amazing, though. It was... There's so many people that will talk about it when Bill Clinton, and got involved in it when he was the president. And then following into Bush, yeah, we had 9/11, the wars, and things to criticize Bush on the Patriot Act. It's just that things shifted a little bit. And so, yeah. William Cooper also authored a book by the name of Behold a Pale Horse. And I was never drawn to read his book. There was something about it that seemed off. I follow my intuition with things that I listen to and read. I follow my intuition and try to stay off the internet as much as possible. When I'm on the internet, I'm doing writing from my associate's website. I'm using my brain. I don't let my brain turn to silly putty, because that's frankly what it starts to feel like after too much civil unrest videos or spending too much time on the Robert West channel. Type in Robert West Portland, cop watcher in Portland. Oh, man. Many shady guys in the alternative media, including Cop Watch. There's just some entertaining stuff and civil unrest to watch, but it's like it sucks our energy in and it takes us away from real things like books. But I'll tell you what, out of all the books that I've read, something about William Cooper's, and there are other things out there that are fringe that I think may have some merit. You know, how much is Philip Schneider, how much is his story accurate? If I said his name correctly, and he was allegedly suicided or killed, correct me if I'm wrong, but was it in the Wilsonville, Oregon area, sometime in the 90s, and that he claimed that he worked at Dulce, New Mexico, and that he claimed that he was aware of the underground bases. And it was through Phil, by the way, that I heard about the claim about Mount Blanca, being the source of some sort of a battle between gray aliens and the U.S. military. Now, William Cooper deals with a lot of this stuff. Government, alien, this, that, and the other. It's also possible that someone could come across some of those theories on their own or through other people's information or research and just claim that they've seen a document or make up a particular document. Now, I'm not saying that's what William Cooper has done. What I'm saying is, like, I like documentation. I like to see people document things. When I flip through William's Cooper book, true evidence is, it's like it didn't have that feeling, that sense. This is evidence. These are real documents. And there are others that talked about the fact that he was a flip-flopper on his position on aliens. And that he, one of the individuals that says that William Cooper threatened him and or his friends. And you can hear those clips on YouTube. And there's a person narrating, saying they were associated with Cooper, and, you know, he kind of flipped on him. The thing is, some of you guys haven't seen people like this act like that on you until you've gone through it. I have. I've met psychopaths in the alternative media. I've met psychopaths that I got involved with to run a survival store, for crying out loud. Guy's name was Michael Knight. He was linked in with a guy named James Gilland of the Assetti Ranch in Trout Lake, Washington. A lot of these freaks hang together. And Romtham was also associated with Michael Knight, or Michael Knight with her, and her little camp up there. So I've seen various psychopaths. And I did a previous podcast on advertising companies offering contracts to alternative media content creators with promises of providing them with a greater income, when in reality it seems like they're parasiting on the income that they're already making from Google, with Google still getting their cut or getting their take. But going back to our main subject matter here, I think that if you let the stress get to you and alcoholism becomes a way of life and other things become a way of life and someone loses a spiritual center, they can end up kind of mad. And I think that's kind of the legacy of William Cooper. If you don't maintain that, you know, you can expire a little bit earlier. And maybe our words do have power. You know, is it brilliant to go on certain shows and say, if, talk about the revolution starting on your doorstep, if you got to die, so be it. Sorry, but there's not going to be a big revolution of the people. And he would say, well, if we don't wake up by a certain time and do a certain thing, there's no hope. There's no doubt. Well, there's a lot of people who have been saying that in my generation as well. I said it as well. We're talking like a decade after William Cooper was saying it, and people are still saying it. And I really don't think that's how this reality works. So, yeah, this guy was basically discussing how William Cooper was first discussing aliens and ufology in places like Sedona, Arizona, and I uploaded a 1989 lecture because I thought it was interesting. And he sounds pretty calm. And then the guy doing the podcast about Cooper discusses, and we can see this as well, he transitions into the so-called patriot community and starts getting involved in shortwave radio and the really competitive, ego-driven nature of it. And then, of course, the inevitable clash of the William Cooper, Alex Jones saga, which is really, really interesting. And we have to give William Cooper credit for that because things like that are really important to look at, especially seeing how, Alex Jones, this is the dude falsely alleging that Russia was launching ICBMs when they weren't. And now at a time where there really could be some sort of a conflict. All he does is sit there and promote Putin for years. And Russia, claiming that it's outside the New World Order, which is something that I've been calling out for multiple years as fraudulent. So for William Cooper back in the day, to be discussing that stuff was cutting edge because no one else, goes to show you how asleep some people are and lazy. No one else took the time to document that Alex Jones was fabricating fake news on the air in 2000. There was one man. And in the end, there will only be one man that was awake enough, that knew how to use a friggin' microphone. And it was William Cooper. So nobody's perfect. But I'll tell you start fighting the archons, you start fighting the evil stuff. We're not going to sit here and debate whether or not you intentionally put out disinformation. In the end, was his heart in it? Yes. Did he get caught up in the fire so much that it consumed him? Yes. Could the outcome have been prevented? Yes. I don't believe his death was a conspiracy. I believe the fire of anger consumed him and other things, and that was a period in time in which the world was in great change and upheaval energetically. And in previous podcasts, you've heard me talk about the solar flares. And those being times where some people kill themselves, do lots of drugs, get involved in substance abuse. And you might also see an increase in suicide by cop behavior because of the impulsive Wild West thinking. You're not going to get me, copper. No way, no how. It sounds like that's how William Cooper went out. And let us move forward with bravery, but also learning from the mistakes of others and also remembering those that came before us and people like William Cooper that have contributed so much to the research community. May William Cooper rest in peace wherever he is now. I'm Alex Ansari, sign off March 22nd. Ooh, what an ominous day for this podcast. March 22nd, 322 Skull and Bones, 2017.